Hi there, Marianne here, coming to you from Southern California, where I currently reside. I'm originally from New Zealand, and I'm really excited to be working in the amazing world of past life regression healing. This is what I do now, and it's an amazing modality. I've had many shifts myself, as have many of my clients. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I do and who would be a good candidate for this work. Now, you've probably seen a few videos on YouTube. I've looked through many of them myself, and there's a vast array of videos about past life healing. In regression work, you can see people being put under hypnosis and going back to past lives. Now, some people might say, I've heard this said by a particular psychic actually, said that he's not a big fan of past life work because it can't be validated. And what he means is, unless somebody's giving very specific dates and times and names and whatnot, it's quite hard to go back and actually verify it. And also I think he's talking from a psychic level, like if you were to go to a psychic and they say, oh, I feel like you were this person or that person in a past life. Yeah, that is hard to validate. But in this work, the validation really comes from the healing itself. For example, if you're in pain one day and then you're not in pain the next day after doing a regression, that's all the validation anybody really needs. I mean, people just want to feel better, and that is why people come to this mode. Usually, that's why, that's the way I would be talking about it today. Is this is a great option for people that have unresolved issues. Anything, it can be anything. The range is really vast for this work. That's what's so incredible about it. You could have a great client would be somebody with phobias, a lot of anxiety, anyone struggling with depression, addictions, any sort of block in their life. So that could be anything from fear of moving forward in any way, fear of flying, that's a block, you could say, financial blocks, relationship blocks. I know these are really big sort of subgroups, but a good example. So really any issue you can think of. Fertility issues, this is a great mode for that. And I'll give you an example. When somebody has a block in that area, it can very often be from a past life trauma. And you think about that now, if you've had a very traumatic, say, pregnancy in a past life, then often upon, say, it caused your death in a past life. Let's just get to the good stuff right now. Let's just scare you into oblivion, shall we? No, I'm just kidding. But this is a really good example. This is how profound this work is. Now, if, say, for example, the client died in a past life during pregnancy or childbirth, often, that was a very common thing back in the day when they didn't have, obviously, the technology and modern medicine that we have today. Was giving birth was you got pretty close to death, and women will tell you that today. So anyway, if this happened to you in a past life, it would give you that fear that in this life you would not want to be pregnant again. So often, if, say, somebody's dying and giving birth in a past life, the last words they might say would be, well, I'm not doing that again, as they're dying. Like, I shouldn't have done it, or any words of regret or anything like that. Actually create a program. They set up a program so that in this lifetime, when you come in to this life, you have certain programs in place that have been caused from other past life events and traumas. And so there'll be certain things you'll avoid in this lifetime, one of which could be getting pregnant, or maybe you just avoid children because it's a trigger for you. It's actually been that way for me. So I don't have kids. I don't prefer to be around screaming kids. I see kids as a lot of responsibility, which they are. Everybody can claim that. But the thing is, it's about being free of triggers. So I'm at peace with that in my life. I've seen some past lives where there was some conflict around being a parent, conflict around being a child. It's a complex relationship, the child-parent relationship as it is. So when you add trauma to it, now you've got a little bit more, complicating the whole business. So that's an example, the fertility one. Another one would be a phobia. Say you've got a really bad fear of falling, and that fear, it inhibits you. It stops you from going on tours or, going to certain places. You certainly you barely like flying. Maybe you would never consider bungee jumping or jumping out of a plane, which I think is perfectly normal. But if you've got a phobia, there really could be a big difference. Somebody might just not want to skydive, and then somebody else actually feels a physical reaction to the idea of skydiving. It's that kind of difference that is something that you might want to look into if that is an issue for you. So the best way to sort of think about who might be a good client for this would be, what are your triggers? We all have triggers, certain things that sort of set us off, upset us, cause us fear, cause panic, cause sadness, cause anger, any of those things. What is it that sort of makes you crazy or makes you want to kind of rant? Or, what do you go off about? And it can be the most random things. It's really interesting what triggers different people, and we all are a little bit different in that department. Obviously certain injustices are going to trigger most of us, but there could just be that one thing that you just know is irrational given your history, your life, or maybe not. Maybe you can pin it to something in your past, but it could also be a reoccurring theme. So yes, you have a sort of a trigger point about injustice to a certain people group or animals, for example. Now, that may make sense to you based on your history, but then it may be reinforced by other past lives. So what ends up happening often is these stories kind of repeat themselves. So this isn't your first problem with a particular issue. You've probably been carrying it around for many lifetimes. Say, a good example would be like rejection or abandonment or fear of public speaking. This is a big one for me. I mean, the fact that I'm even videoing myself today is kind of a small miracle, because that was a huge fear for me. I've had a lot of past lives around judgment, and that's what fear of public speaking is, really. It's actually fear of judgment. And so if you've been judged in a past life to the point where maybe it's cost you your life, then public speaking or videoing yourself or anything where you're sort of putting yourself out there, any form of self-expression, is going to be very difficult. So many examples of how people can learn and grow and recover, more importantly, from these old wounds, these old traumas that for some of us can be lifetimes old. And if we don't heal them, if we don't review and release these old traumas, then they just kind of keep repeating. They hang around. And there's always a resonance that we carry from these old lives. And that is what is exciting to clear, because then you can just get on and you can actually have experiences that you've never had before. You can go to places in, metaphorically speaking, you can go to new heights and really break the ceiling in your life and go to places that you've never even dreamed of. So, obviously I'm excited about this work. I can't say enough good about it. And I'm very inexpensive right now. If anyone is curious about this work, if you just want to have a conversation with me and, maybe discuss your situation in brief and see if you'd be a good candidate for this work, I'm more than happy to speak to anybody about that. So I will include my website here, and it is Marianne Rogers with a D, Rodgers, and Marianne is Maryanne. So, and it's .com, sorry. So if you would like to check out my website, my contact details are there. And if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, I will be posting more videos in detail about specifics. I tried to cover more in general terms today for anybody interested in this work, but I am also going to teach a little bit more specifically about all kinds of things to do with past life work. It's really a fascinating world once you sort of delve into it. So particularly interesting about relationships, how people have been together in other lifetimes, especially you may have, these complex relationships in this life, and you're like, you're being triggered about certain things and it doesn't really make sense. Maybe you're overreacting to somebody. It's really fascinating. So we'll go down that path. We're going to look into all kinds of things. So if you're interested, look out for me on my channel here, and there'll be more videos to come. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you soon.